Welcome to Spain, Poco A Poco. Hey, Tanya.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going bueno, as they say. I'm bien. I am all those
All
things.
those things and a little cooler. The weather's dipping down a little, which is nice, right?
It's dipping down. I mean, I will have to say, 2 nights ago, I was sleeping in a pool of sweat
Oh,
because our air
lovely.
conditioner's
Oh,
broken.
God,
And
thanks
then
for
last
sharing.
night, I had the window open and I was piling covers on me. And then went to my closet to get a sweatshirt because I was like, whoa, that just changed overnight. It went from 83 at night to, what, I think 58, 59
Yeah,
last night.
no, it's been delightful. Besides your too graphic story there, it has been delightful. And I will say we had this tiny bit of rain a couple of days ago, and it was like one of those things where it just added to the humidity, and I was like, God, this is never going to end. And then the next day it was this evening and this night that you mentioned, and I was like, oh, this is
Mhm.
nice, I love it. And speaking of cooler things, we're going to talk about the Spanish beaches in the winter, which is one of my favorite things.
Well, which is where we're headed to. And sadly to say, we only went to the beach once at night this whole summer. So
uh,
now we're heading into the autumn, and our beach, what I want to do at the beach is ending. So I think I have
yeah,
like a week or two to before what we're going to talk about sets in.
right.
And
Well, I was going to
my
say, did you ever make you never made it, all those
we
dreams
never.
and desires, you never made it to a beach day? I'm sorry.
I am pasty white. I am the color that my ancestors would be horrified to see that I am this pale right
Well,
now.
I'd say you don't have to go to the beach to get a tan, but we enjoy the beach a lot just for activities and hanging out. And I think that is maybe something that is a bit more accessible to those that live outside of the city, unless you live in the very beach side of the Valencian city. I think, would that be
For
accurate?
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we have to take the bus. Like, I'm not going to take a cab there, right? You can take a cab and be there in 5-10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I'm not going to spend 15 euros there and back all the time. I think
Right.
that's just
Yeah.
crazy. So the bus is about 40 minutes. It's a
That's a
lot of
while.
stops,
Yeah.
and you're like, and getting there is not the issue. My kids brought it up. They're like, what we don't like about it, Dad, is when you take
Dad.
the bus back, is they get just car sick. They're all hot and they're
Mm,
sticky and they're gross, and the bus is stopping every 5 feet, and it's
yeah.
it's like you get like a motion sickness. You're like, I just want to be home and showered, and
And in
it's
all
at the end of the
fairness,
day you're done.
yeah, you may have drunk a little bit of the Mediterranean Sea, which might be settling
Yeah,
in your belly a little wrong. And yeah, I can see that. Yeah. But
I mean they do have a good argument. I mean
they
they
do.
they
And
could join.
but we love the beach out here. We didn't go as much as we wanted, but we went a lot. And one of the things that we do year round, they do have dog beaches, but in the winter, it opens up a bit more. So we can talk a little bit about taking your dogs to the beach, because that's something that I love to do once we get into the winter, which is
Mm-hmm.
that in this part of Spain anyway, they will open the beaches from sort of maybe October to April, May ish, where you can take your dog to any of the beaches and they can run around.
Okay.
And I love that because they do have really nice promenades on a lot of the beaches here where you can walk your dog up and down. You can walk, you can have your kids can do a little, maybe a little roller skating or something. But actually taking your dog onto the beach obviously is something that is prohibited except in certain dog beach areas, of which there are quite a
Mm-hmm.
few. So we love the winter because it's just there's no one at the beach. It's really nice. You can get all dressed up for the cold weather, and you just go and walk your dog down there, and you can. I mean, it's lovely. For me, it's one of my favorite things because the beach in the summer is very busy, obviously, and in the winter
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody there. A lot of the beach towns, I don't know what it's like in the city, but a lot of the beach towns where we are, north of the city, there's not much there. There's a few restaurants maybe, but overall it's holiday homes and holiday apartments. And so in the winter
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty empty, and it's really really
Desolate.
nice. I love it.
It is like another world. It's like what was that TV show, that series they did 100 years, The World Without Us or something, like
Mhm.
what would happen to the world. Like it kind of gives you that feeling while you're
Yeah.
there, right?
It is really nice. And I will say people are very good about, from my experience, and I always do, pick up after your dog. So please do, because other people are walking on the beach, people without dogs, people with dogs. We don't need that on the beach. So There's trash bins everywhere. Pick up after your dog if you're
And
going to do
please bring
this.
that etiquette into the city, not you, but other people, because
Right.
you will step in dog doo-doo in the city year round.
Yeah, I
So
found that not to be the case so much outside of the city, but I don't spend a lot of time that. But during the
mhm.
summer and during the whole year, there are dog beaches. If you have a dog that's very social and you wish to have your dog run around with other dogs, there are dog beaches in all sorts of areas around here. You can find them online, and that's really, really fun. They're not the best beaches, obviously, because they're the
Mhm.
dog beaches. So they're the ones that have more algae and more seaweed and more kind of rocks and things like that. But they're
Okay.
absolutely fine and nice for a dog to run around in and for you to go sunbathe in if you want to. They're very, very acceptable, I would say. So
Okay.
that's my experience with dogs, and that's my winter one of my winter activities.
And brings you to the beach in the winter, which is nice, right? And then you
Yes.
still get to see forever, right? You get to see the
Mm-hmm.
horizons,
I
and
love
which is
it.
always good for your soul. And that's what
Yes.
I miss about not going to the beach this summer, is seeing forever, right? You just
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
look
think
out,
so.
you
And I
know.
do think also there are apps for wind. And if you're somebody that likes to surf or kite surf or any of these things, there are apps that will give you wind and waves and things like that. And that is something that you might want to check before heading to the beach in the winter, because if it gets windy, it's incredibly unpleasant to have sand blowing
Mhm.
up at you. No, that's not fun. Nobody wants
But if
that.
you're on one of those boards with the sails, whatever those are
That's a kite
called,
surfing, yes. Then you
kite
want the
surfing,
wind.
and kite boarding, kite surfing and kite boarding,
And
right? Then
there,
you want all that.
yes, and there are some very, very popular kite surfing beaches just north of Valencia where I always see them year round. It is a very, very big activity here. So if that's something you love to do, that is a legitimate sporting activity here as well.
Amazing. I'm not going to do that, but
I'm
that's
not doing it.
amazing.
And I do fear that the water might be a little cold for me to go paddleboarding. So I do think our paddleboarding activities may be done for the year, because I don't want to fall in it and I'm not willing to peel myself into a wetsuit. So that might be the end of that too.
So in the city in the winter, the city beaches, things don't close down as much as the beaches you go to, right? Because
Hmm.
it's the city, so the paella shops and all the stuff that's on the beach are pretty much opened. I mean, people have come in February and said, we want paella on the beach. And I'm like, all right,
Mm.
kids, grab your scarves. We're going to the
And it's all
beach.
still, all the restaurants down there and the shops and everything are all still open.
Everything's open, and but
Mm.
it's a very small it's that
Yeah.
small, I mean, we're a small section of the beach and it's still lively in the city. And
Right.
here it is a real neighborhood of the city that people live year round, right? It's a real,
Yes.
it's not a
That's
beach
true.
town.
Yeah. They're very different. Some
So
of
it
the
is part
beaches
of
up,
their
yeah, some of the beaches up here will have some restaurants that might be open. There's like Canet, I think, has a much more robust restaurant and area, ice cream shops and coffee shops there. And I think some of those are open year round at a much, much shorter amount of time, like maybe
mhm.
just on Saturdays and Sundays or something like that. But there is something going on there. But most of the other ones are smaller towns, there's nothing going on. And that's where these chiringuitos come in, which was what we have a lot of. And I don't know if they put those on the beaches at the city, but in our beaches up north, you have these little huts that pop up in the spring and they get broken down in the fall. And that is when you see those coming down, you're like, yeah, the summer's over, because they
The
are,
summer's over.
I know, but they're, I mean, and those are great because in beaches where they don't have a lot of restaurants, ice cream shops, and things like that, these little chiringuitos come up and they have ice cream, coffee, drinks, they blast music, and they put maybe some umbrellas out and stuff. And it's like really fun and it creates a really nice atmosphere on these beaches. And then it all gets closed down, taken away in the fall.
Right. We do have those in the city, especially in the further, like at the Patacona Beach, you'll see them there because there's less
I see.
services there. And
Okay.
those do pop up. And what I think is so crazy about those is when you see them closed up, the thing's like no bigger than a porta potty. But when
Right.
they open it up, these walls come down and it's suddenly a party. Like
Totally.
they've got
Yes. And the
everything, they've got
music.
tables,
Yeah.
yeah, the lights strung about.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And that is my
Right?
favorite thing. I mean, you've been to if you go to the beach, especially out of the city at night, these things are open until late at night. So
Till
they're
like 4 o'clock in the
open.
morning
Yeah, yeah. So
sometimes.
they're
Yeah.
open servicing with drinks and coffee and ice cream for the kids and stuff until the middle of the night. So and just to be clear, they don't close up for the winter. close up and go away. I mean, completely
Right.
dismantled, gone, like they never existed. And then in the spring, you'll see them coming in with the boards and starting to build them again. It's really cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it is cool, and it is, well, when they're the size of the porta potty, it is very easy to just haul them away.
Well, I'd say I'm not doing it, but theoretically,
And what I
yes.
love about them is when you're at a beach that has a promenade, these are in between the shore and the promenade, so you don't have to walk all the way back to the promenade.
Oh yeah, God, no. No, they're on the beach. They're literally on the beach near the promenade, so they're really, really convenient. And then speaking of porta potties, if you have a beach that's not very populated in the winter, if they have public restrooms, which a lot of them do, sort of away from the beach, those will be locked up and closed down most likely.
Oh, really?
And also the water stations, which they have here, which I love. So as you're walking off the beach, and they have these little water stations where you can wash your feet and stuff like that, they will shut off the water to those in the winter as well. So everything is like done.
Wow.
Done and out. And that's the
interesting.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, I guess, because you're not no one's doing anything. I mean, there are people polar bear swimming, I mean, for sure. But it's not there's not, you might get the hot day between now and the end of November, maybe, where everyone's like, oh my God, we got lucky and it's a hot day, and suddenly there's a lot of people. But then you're bringing everything with you. You're not expecting a chiringuito or anything to be there to give you any services. So
speaking of that last hot day, because the one thing we have talked about before is the weather here in Valencia, and when it's hot, and when it's cold, and they don't blend. You don't get a random 80-degree day in December like I'm used to in California.
No, it's not quite like that. Yeah. But up at this time you will. Yeah, right now you will get a bit of a blend. Yeah. Yeah,
right. We're in that transition until mid-October where it's comfortable and still beach days. So you're like, yeah, I can bristle it, a little bit. But, in the summer, it's hot at the beach and the water is ridiculously warm, as we've said before. It can be just between up to almost 80 degrees Fahrenheit, the water. But in the winter, it drops to like in the 50s. So the winter, you are making ice cubes. Do you know what I mean?
That was a surprise to me, I have to say. Before we moved here, I had only been to the Mediterranean in the summer, and I just had this really ridiculous idea that the water would be swimmable year round. It is not.
It's not a ridiculous idea, because that's exactly what I thought, and that's why we moved to Spain. That was part of the thing of like, we're going to be able to go to the beach year round, and we're going to have crystal blue Mediterranean waters, and it's going to be lovely. And then I come here and realize it's either too hot in the water to be refreshing or too cold.
Right. I mean, it's a very interesting combination, but it is what it is. And some people love it because there, like we said before, there are people that do polar bear swims, and it does get cold enough. It's in that kind of perfect polar bear swimming temperature around January, February. So I guess if you're a type of person, you have it all here at the end of the day. But
I do find that the sweet spot for swimming in the water is September, beginning of October, and like May into June is the sweet spot where the water,
I would agree with that,
is refreshing.
Yes, definitely. Because and when you there's a sweet spot, I think, that happens in the spring, which is nice, where the water's still cold enough, but the weather's getting hot and you're really enjoying the heat coming back. Whereas at this time of year, we're so done with the heat that we are not like, let's go swimming because it's the perfect temperature. Whereas in the spring, you're like, oh, we had a really nice hot day, but the water's still cold, and you're so happy when that happens.
I have to say, we all woke up this morning because of the cold spell, and everyone was in a really good mood this morning. We all got sleep, and we weren't dying. And so everyone's like, it's happening. I'm like, we're so excited. But in a month from now, I'm going to be complaining that it's too cold. So
we
beware.
will. We're just going to complain all year round. So speaking of the temperature of the water and being in the water, I just also want to point out there are no lifeguards in the winter. There's no safety flags. So I think that would be expected. I don't think anyone would be expecting this to be populated with lifeguards all winter, but it isn't. So if you are swimming and getting your wetsuit on, if you're doing any of that in the winter, definitely make sure that you have an app that kind of gives you some information on the weather and the tides and all that type of thing. I would imagine there's some cities that have the apps for their beaches, but there is an app, and I can't remember the name of it, that there is an app for people that like to surf. I know this is not a super surfing area, but we do have little waves and sometimes slightly bigger ones. And there are people that do like to surf here. And there are apps that follow the waves and all of that you can get really good information about all sorts of things at the beach. And if you're kite surfing, that includes winds and everything. And I would imagine if you're kite surfing, you're probably not that worried about your safety, because that is a very dangerous sport, I think. But you probably still don't want to die. So you can check winds and all these sorts of things on these apps and take care of yourself.
Right.
There's no lifeguards there for you. Bring a friend.
Right. What I also think is interesting about the beaches in winter, I mean, I think this happens everywhere, but it is fun to see when you do get down there that the winter time is the time to replenish it for the next summer, right? Mm-hmm. Because the erosion of the beach, the sand goes away, the trash cleans. So this is the time they're sourcing sand from around the world, and which I thought was weird is that they're even getting it from the Sahara Desert. They're bringing it in.
They're bringing it from everywhere. Yeah, and it's the spring when they actually start to bring that. So that's something that when you get to kind of the spring time and you start seeing the new sand coming in, and they're raking the beaches and putting the new sand on, that's when you start feeling like, the summer is coming, right?
Right.
So that's kind of an indication of that, because you will start to see some of these beaches that you went to in the summer and they were like these beautiful sandy beaches suddenly have a few more rocks on them in the winter. And you're like, what is going on? How did this beach change? And it's not turning into like a rocky beach, but it's suddenly got more rocks. And it's like, where did they come from? Are people throwing rocks on the beach? No, the sand is just blowing out and getting drifted out into sea, and the waves are coming up and getting it. And they do replenish a lot of the beaches. And some of the beaches, I think, like in Barcelona, were not even beaches. They were completely man-made. Right?
Yeah, that was completely man-made for the Olympics, and now they spend millions every year. And I think there's even like a protest movement because people are like, "You're wasting our funds on something that we never had in the first place." But yet other Barcelonians are like, "But we love having a beach.
But we love having a beach. So why wouldn't you want a beach?" I can't imagine that debate will ever be finalized.
No.
But yeah, I mean, they bring sand from all different places, different countries. They do seabed dredging for it, construction sites for reusable sand, quarries, rivers, and then also, like you said, importing sand from other countries. And theoretically, I don't know if the tides take that sand back to those countries and then they pick it up again and bring it back. I'm not sure exactly what's happening, but
didn't I remember sitting with Jawad and he was trying to have some Moroccan pride moment, and he was like, "Oh, that sand's from Morocco. You come every year and you take it from our shore and bring it back to yours, and we take it back through the winter."
Through the winter, probably. I think it's definitely it's an agreement that everybody has, and it's beautiful sand that comes. So let's just say, since it's such beautiful sand, I'm sure it does come from Morocco.
It is beautiful. It is like powder. It's powdered sugar. I do love it.
And to be clear, they're not putting sand on rocky beaches. I mean, there are rocky beaches that people love and they go to the rocky beaches, but there are sandy beaches that just need a little extra love. And that's where this extra sand gets put on top.
Agreed. Well, I think that wraps up our beaches in winter. What do you think, Tanya?
I think it does. I'm very excited to get down there and enjoy it in the cooler weather. So until our next Poco A Poco.
Until then, actually, until our next long episode as well.
That too. Okay, bye.
Ciao.
Thank you for listening to Our Spain Poco A Poco. Since you love us so much, please do go on to our social media and follow us and like us and subscribe where you're listening, because it really does help us to grow and stick around and do what we are very much enjoying doing.
And, give us a shout out on the social medias. Give us a comment on what you would like to hear us talk about. I mean, we like to hear ourselves speak, but we do want to make this, informative for our listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can comment on one of our posts, or you can send us a message through our Spain Facebook page or Instagram. So we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. Till the next episode.
Bye.